video, and today we're gonna be reacting to Moist Critical. You weren't going to see this trash anyway. Now I seen the thumbnail, and I know what movie he's talking about. It's this the movie was trash. I did watch it, but it was like a little bit of the movie when they started opening the doors and stuff that had me kind of stoked. But that was the only good part of the movie. The rest of the movie was just absolute ass, and I was watching it damn near falling asleep.
Right now called Imaginary. I bet most of you watching have never heard of this film before
I
in
have.
your life.
My brother
those-
recommended it to me because he was like, I was like, I want to watch a horror movie. He was like, oh, this new horror movie just came out. And I watched it, and I told him he didn't watch it, but he told me it was coming
that
out.
have heard of it, I imagine
He didn't know it
zero
was
of
bad.
you had any interest in going to see it, because even just from the first trailer, anyone with eyes would recognize this movie had no chance at being anything even close.
I didn't
to
watch the
decent.
trailer.
It was doomed from the start. It's a movie about a haunted bear imaginary friend. It's as creatively bankrupt as it gets. I would sooner...
Yeah, basically, the more imagination you have, I think, like the more creative you are, they feed off that and stuff, and then they try to lock you up in a place.
buy a
basically.
ticket to watch the feature film of The Poop That Took a Pee than going to Imaginary. But I actually did go see Imaginary, so that point doesn't really work. That's moot. I saw it yesterday and can confirm beyond a shadow of a doubt, it's horrible.
It was the worst hour and 40 minutes of my life.
It's trash.
Well, except for the 10 minutes that it was actually good.
Terrible. This is the latest super stinker from Blumhouse. More like Butthouse, because this shit is ass. I am no stranger to bad movies, as all of you know. I have a huge passion for seeing them. But man, Blumhouse is pumping out some extraordinarily boring ones. It feels like they're not even trying.
And I'm not gonna lie, there was a couple good scenes that they could have had, but they just kind of sold them. Like with the dad, they was kind of selling them. Like that could have been some good scenes with the dad.
Anymore, they just know
But
that
they kind of sold it a
because
little
the
bit. I
budget
don't
is
know.
so low for these movies, and there's so many people in the world that just want something to do. They'll make a profit off those just curious enough to buy tickets to pass time. So they don't even bother putting in the bare minimum amount of effort to even produce something that has a single redeeming quality about it. Like, I'm pretty sure Imaginary was probably filmed in like 2 weeks because they just used the first take of everything that they shot and then just called it a wrap. And
Yes,
said,
I think the acting was horrible. Like I said, they sold the dad so hard. The
enough.
dad had such
So,
a good.
I saw it
Like I
yesterday
liked
with
it, bro,
Aaron.
but it
Aaron
was
and I
just
have
so
been seeing pretty
trash.
much every bad movie of the last year or so together, and this is definitely a bad movie that we experienced, and I kind of want to just dissect it here. Not for any reason other than I saw it, so I kind of just want to debrief about it. I know none of you are interested in seeing it.
I've seen it. I've
But I
seen
don't
it.
care. I'm going to peel your eyes open and make you understand why this movie Turbo sucks. The best compliment I can give Imaginary is it's better than Night Swim, which is a very low bar to pass, but it is better than Night Swim. That's the Blumhouse movie from January, which is all about a haunted pool. Big congrats to Imaginary for being able to beat that. What an achievement. The accomplishment cannot be understated. It's better than Night Swim. Put it on the back of
The pool one was just horrible. Like there was just nothing. But it was like funny in a standpoint of how bad it was.
DVD box. Before getting super deep on Imaginary, I want to go ahead and thank World
I didn't
of
watch it. I
Warships
watched
for
this video
sponsoring
on
this
it.
video.
Big thanks to World of Warships for sponsoring this video. I've been working with the World of Warships team for quite assets.
March
Warships.
moving early to their
Warships.
Imaginary begins with a man and a woman lying in bed together, and the woman, Jessica, has just had another nightmare where she's attacked by a spider, a big spooky spider. And in order to start combating these nightmares she's having, they decide to move in early to their new house, which actually isn't a new house, it's Jessica's childhood house. And
Yeah, and then the girl gets the bear there under in the basement. The girl gets the bear.
He's forgotten.
I think he's about to explain
her
that.
entire childhood, basically. He's talking about how foggy it is. She's got like amnesia, so she can't remember her childhood due to a bunch of trauma, which is a really convenient plot device. So she is the stepmom in this.
Yeah, she was like 5 years old when it happened. Yeah, she was like 5 years old when her dad sealed the thing away.
Relationship.
The bear.
And the father has two children, two daughters. And they all move in together, and the older daughter doesn't like Jessica, but the younger daughter's more receptive to Jessica as like the new mother. And the dynamic there isn't really explored at all past the older sibling just going, "You're not our real mom. We were happier without you. We want our real mom back." And their real mom shows up in this movie for like 2 minutes for a jump scare.
Oh
So
yeah,
the
I remember
previous
that.
wife,
That's when they was in the dollhouse room, but it was like a fake. It was like fake her though. Like they was in this dollhouse room towards the end, and it was the no, it wasn't a dollhouse room. What the fuck am I talking about? It was their old apartment room, and basically she came in, trying to convince them to stay and stuff like that.
had some kind of mental illness that was never really explained or explored. But for one scene, the mom was having a tea party with the daughter late at night and then jumped at Jessica and fell over and then got taken away via ambulance. That
No,
was
that's
the
not the only scene. The other scene was created by the monsters though.
like original
But it was
mom's
still
role in this
her, but,
film.
like, you know.
That's it, and she's never seen again. This movie actually has a habit of doing that, where they just introduce these characters just for them to never be seen again for just a completely inexplicable reason. So, like the father here, he barely has a role to play in this movie. So they move into this
Yes,
house.
they sold him so bad. They sold him so bad. He had such a he could have did so much.
And within like 2 days,
They sold
the
it
dad's
so
like,
bad.
"All right, time to pack up. I gotta go on tour." So I shit you not, he puts on a fedora, packs his suitcase, and he's like, "All right, are you sure you guys are gonna be okay, Jessica?" And she's like, "Yeah, absolutely. Go on your tour. I know the Blood Farts are really killing it this year on the Billboard Top 100. Go play your hit song, fucking Drops of Jupiter. Yeah, get out there." So he's like, "All right, well, I'm going on my tour." And he is never seen or even mentioned again. He tips his fedora and then just falls into the back rooms, and we just have to accept that he's just gone. We lost to be like this superstar mother, and the youngest daughter has found a bear in the house named Chauncey.
Yeah.
And she's talking to the bear. It's her new imaginary friend, and at first Jessica's really
Yeah,
supportive.
she found it in the basement where he sealed it up. I told her that
But then
already.
things start getting really sinister when Chauncey starts wanting to play a game with her where
Yeah.
she's like hurting.
Basically, she had to do a whole bunch of tags that were just weird. She had to hurt herself, I think, for one. Do something bad. I forgot what the other ones were, to be honest.
She's about to like slam her hand on a nail, and Jessica has
Yeah.
to stop her from it. And that's
Hurt
when
herself.
she realizes that this imaginary friend is not good for her because it's making her do dangerous things. So that's like the main plot line there. This imaginary friend is real, and
I wonder if he's going to talk about when they opened all the doors. That was the best part, in my opinion.
the little girl
Wasn't
to do
worth
a
all of that,
ritual
but
to
it
join
was at least a good
him
part.
in the imagination land, which is a fucking stupid concept. But there's also a lot of other things that don't really matter in here at all. So, for example, the older daughter meets a neighborhood kid whom she's like in love with instantly. So she invites that dude over when Jessica's out one day, and the dude comes over and immediately makes enemies with the younger daughter. He's like, "You're a psycho," and then that was the end of that. And then for some reason he's like, "So do you want to do these drugs with me?"
I actually no, I don't remember that, but
So he pulls
That-
out
that
a
probably
bag of
happened. Yes, that
pills,
probably
and then
happened,
he
but
has
I
one
don't
on his
remember
tongue.
it.
He's like, just to show he's doing pills. And he was talking about how like last time he did these, his left
I know the guy he's talking about, but I don't remember the scene.
eye could see 12 seconds in the future. And the
Probably
older daughter's
dozing off this scene, I don't know.
I don't really want to do those pills. I thought we were just gonna like watch this movie and hang out. And he's like, "Fuck, this is so lame. Let's get some alcohol." So he breaks into like the dad's stash of booze and immediately breaks it, goes upstairs, and this is supposed to showcase the very first time horror in this movie. To this point, they hadn't had any elements of horror outside of that nightmare she had, which was super lame.
Yeah.
She gets attacked by a spider.
Oh, I know what he's talking about. When he fell back, when he started chasing the he was chasing something, and then he seen the bear at the end of the hallway, and then I think it pulled him forward or something like that. It was like a kind of a jump scare, and he jumped over, and then it was like, "What are you doing in here?" Somebody walked in and was like, "What are you doing here?" I don't remember the exact details. It's about to
I'm going
explain.
to go ahead and mention the monster design in this movie is terrible. Aaron said it best, where he said the monster creature design in this film is just marginally better than Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey, but it's a close match. It's like they went to Party City
I
and
don't
they
remember the
took
drugs
costumes
part,
off
though.
the rack
I
and then
remember
just
that.
threw some mud on it and then added some really, really quick Adobe After Effects VFX to it and called it a day. It looks awful. It looks like Mummy 2 The Rock, Scorpion King levels of bad when it comes to how these creatures look. Ugh. I'll get to it more towards the end of the plot synopsis that I'm going down here. But anyway, so the dude's like, all right, I got these pills. I'm going to go upstairs now since I broke the booze to clean it up. And he's taking a piss, and then all of a sudden, the bear's there. And he's like, ooh, spooky. So he pees everywhere, and he's like, oh, man, I'm just tripping because I'm doing pills.
I remember that.
And then all of a sudden, the bear's back again. And this is like that scene in the trailer where the ring's going, and it's like playing the sound effects, and the bear's getting closer, and then it stops. And then the like fucking first jump scare of the movie happens where the bear pops out to scare him, and he goes, whoa! And then he falls over and runs away. That's that whole scene, and that dude doesn't have any role to play in this film at all. It's not like he died there or anything. All it was here for was to deliver a cheap jump scare and nothing else. Comes home shortly after.
It was kind of, I don't know, I was
very
bored the
disappointed
whole
in the older
time.
daughter for bringing this boy over, and then the boy's
Well, not
mother
the whole time, but most of the time.
comes over and is like, I'm so sorry, my son did this. And then Jessica's like, yeah, and he also brought these drugs. And then the mom goes, these aren't drugs, this is my allergy medication. Which is,
I remember this.
I mean, okay, I guess. So the dude was tripping off Allegra, I suppose, Claritin, I guess. It's so stupid, and it has no role to play in the film, but it's here for some reason. And then you never see that guy again. He's never even referenced again. So now Jessica and the two daughters...
That seemed to be happening with a lot of characters.
Once again, just home alone. The imaginary friend situation's getting worse. She calls a therapist over to try and, you know, do something about Chauncey, the imaginary friend. The therapist is kind of odd, where the therapist is trying to get her
Yeah,
to...
she was encouraging, I think the therapist, the old lady was encouraging her to be with them, or she was telling them how
her
it worked, I
feelings with
think.
Chauncey, which leads to a fight between the daughter and Chauncey. And then the therapist is like, has your daughter taken up ventriloquism? Jessica's like, fucking obviously not. My 6-year-old daughter hasn't been studying ventriloquism. Why are you asking?
Was that not her? It was probably, I think it was that old lady that told them about that. I think
And
I might
then
be
the
wrong
therapist
about
goes, well,
being
because,
her, the therapist.
you know, it was weird. Because what happened during the therapy session is Chauncey was speaking in the voice of the daughter, and eventually the daughter turns around while panicked and crying, and the therapist noticed her mouth wasn't moving, but words were still coming out, so she's like, oh, it must be ventriloquism. And then eventually the therapist is like, well, I've noticed some, in previous cases, when an imaginary friend gets hostile and evil, you know, a kid disappears. So good luck. And then she leaves. She plays a video of like some
Yeah,
other kid
I think that's the lady that told him about it.
her or his imaginary friend who made him chop off his thumb, and then like the kid went missing right after. So after playing that video, the therapist is like, all right, so I'm out ski. Also, don't forget to pay my bill. And she just leaves, never to be seen again. But this whole sequence was
I
extremely
mean, that sounds like something I would do. I mean, I'm not getting involved.
important to the film because it delivers the big twist. So that bear that the daughter found and has been carrying around the entire movie, talking to with her imaginary friend, turns out wasn't real. It was all in Jessica's mind. No one else was seeing the bear. The therapist recorded the session and proved that that bear was never actually there. It was nothing. It was an imaginary friend. But Jessica's been seeing it this whole time because it turns out that bear was Jessica's original imaginary friend when she lived in this house. So only she is capable of seeing.
Yeah, and they was trying to trap her there. That's why they pulled them into the different realm thing.
That bear.
Or whatever.
It actually wouldn't be the worst twist in the
They were
world.
really just trying to get her, so they put her daughter and the other daughter into the place so they can trap her there.
If it wasn't
keep her
in
there,
such a
but that
bad
didn't work.
movie. I didn't see it coming. Neither Aaron nor myself expected that, because why would they even bother putting a twist in a movie that has this little effort in it to begin with? But, like, admittedly, it's not the worst idea creatively to have that be like a...
I think the best written character could have been the dad, to be honest. I'm just going to keep saying that. Like,
that was never real. Like, it could work, but it doesn't here, because no one cares. By this point in the film, you're already so mentally checked out, probably snoozing, that it's just, it falls flat. It really does. But, man, my voice is cracking even going over this movie. But anyway, so then she starts realizing that this goes really deep. The reason she can't remember anything is because of her imaginary friend and whatever happened to her back then. So she's connecting these dots about the never ever, and then like a door, and then she's researching it, and then the daughter disappears. So the daughter vanishes, and turns out she completed the scavenger hunt for Chauncey, which opened a portal to the imagination dimension.
And then she was in the room, and then that's when they pulled the vision of the mother, like I said.
SpongeBob and Patrick in the imagination box land now.
All that.
So then Jessica and the older daughter are freaking out. They called the police to start looking for her, and then an old woman whom we did see briefly earlier in the film, who was previously Jessica's babysitter, starts just exposition dumping everything here. Also, that old lady, her name was Gloria. She was seen earlier in the film, but kind of just as like this standoffish asshole. So like Gloria's talking to Jessica about being her babysitter, and then the little girl comes over, and then the old lady immediately gets combative with the little girl, where she's like, you know, you shouldn't really interrupt us. We were in the middle of a conversation.
Yeah, that was.
The girl's like, oh, okay,
I remember.
She sat here and get pugilistic with her.
I didn't get that memo from
like,
that.
Gloria was just immediately weird, but then she's seen here during the vanishing of the little girl, and she starts telling the older sibling, like, look, imaginary friends are real. Usually they're benevolent.
Yep, this is the girl that told him. Like, yep, okay, I said that.
Spirits that kids grow out of.
I was wrong. It wasn't the
sometimes
therapist.
there's evil ones that latch on to a child and feed off their imagination. And Jessica had such a creative, vibrant imagination that imaginary friend didn't want to lose her, so actually stole Jessica into the imagination dimension.
Yep, I said that too.
Jessica eventually escaped, but now it's lived in that house for all these years and has taken Alice, the little girl, to try and get Jessica back. So we've got to do something. So now they've recruited the Avengers here. They got Gloria, the geriatric old octogenarian. They've got Jessica, and they've got the older daughter. They perform the ritual themselves, open up the portal, and confront Chauncey directly, whom takes on the form of a real ferocious bear. And Gloria reveals herself to be a villain, where she traps them in the imagination division.
Did you want to talk about the opening door scene?
Dimension.
When they kept on opening those doors,
Gloria
that scene was
said
good.
that Chauncey gave her the directions to where they'd be promised this land of freedom where they can be young again. Their imagination comes to life. Imagination has power here, this and that. And then she eventually gets slapped by Chauncey, dragged into a room, and then blows up into an explosion of blood.
Yep. He's close to the opening door scene.
So that's how Gloria dies. She's also the only death in the movie, for some reason. Sorry, my nose was running because this shit is actually making my sinuses flare up. But yeah, so Gloria's dead now, and no one cares. So they just go on and keep looking for Alice.
Right.
They eventually find Alice, who doesn't want to leave initially until Jessica starts.
Yeah, because Gloria, she wanted to stay there anyway. She's the one that brought them there because she said that Chauncey wanted them.
I'm ready to leave. Bye, Chauncey. And then Chauncey just kind of lets them leave, but then grabs Jessica and is like, you're not leaving. I like your imagination a lot, so you're staying here with me. And again, he's still in this giant bear shape, and it looks terrible. It looks absolutely terrible. I don't know. Like, I understand these movies are supposed to be made low budget, but you can do better creature designs. Like, from a design perspective, you can do better than what this
it was kind of generic. Like, it was something that you would expect to see, basically.
So point blank, because then you really see all of its flaws. So she's being taken by this goddamn fucking Five Nights at Freddy's throwaway animatronic looking bear, and then gets saved by the older sibling, who grabs her and gets her out of there. But then there's another twist, because it turns out she didn't actually save her. It wasn't a happily ever after. Jessica's still there. And then they just repeat it where the girl goes in and saves her again. And then they burn the house down. I've skipped quite a bit of the movie, but it doesn't matter. You're not going to watch it anyway. No one was planning to.
I did.
But
I spent my hour and 40 minutes watching that stupid movie.
I already went there and saw it, so I just got to
horrible
fucking
hour and
about
40
it.
minutes.
It's so stupid. It's so dumb. It's just, it's a movie that's made for the sake of just putting a movie out there to try and get some money in return, because it's so cheap, you will make a profit off it. Like, it's a smart business strategy, and I've always said that about Blumhouse. It's a really smart business strategy. And there's probably, like, some kind of tax write-off element for it, too, I imagine. So, like, these movies, like Imaginary, they fucking suck. Like,
yeah, the movie's absolute trash.
At points fun bad, I will say. There were definitely fun bad moments of it, but it still wasn't worth seeing in any capacity. But oh well. Yep. So that's Imaginary in a nutshell.
You didn't
There's
talk about the
there's
black dad
nothing good
either.
about it. Like, I guess there's a couple of decent ideas, and by a couple I mean one, where like the twist is the bear was never really there, and then like I guess the fake out ending, which was totally meaningless and didn't really do anything. I guess that was a creative idea too. But they also only let that twist sit for like 2 seconds, where they get her out, and then it's immediately a happily ever after, and she's like, "No, I'm still here," and then they immediately get her out, and then it's the real happily ever after. It's just, I don't know, bad movie, very bad movie.
Yes.
It's really bad.
Well, I understand. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I will see y'all in the next one. Peace out.